Hello there, everybody. Just wanted to do a quick video with Zen Garcia. I've just gotten the opportunity to meet him just now, and just real quick, wanted to do a short interview, and he's been gracious and kind to do that with me. Basically, Zen, I followed your content. I was supposed to come to your conference, and then the whole thing hit, and I wasn't able to make the second one because I actually flew to the United Kingdom at that time and sold my house. So
right on.
Now, you know, Yah has worked it out and blessed me with the opportunity to get to meet you. And as far as your content goes, just have been really interested in some of the things you've talked about with serpent seed. And as well, on top of that, the lost scriptures and the ancient writings that you've really delved into, which I've gotten into. But I know you've gotten into that way more than me. So let me just ask, when did you start looking into some of these scriptures? How long have you been into that? And if you could explain a little of how Yah taught you maybe that was of importance to look at those.
Sure. Absolutely. Really good questions. And I've been reading the ancient manuscripts since I was young. Like, first time I read the book of Enoch was 18 years old. And
wow,
that just blew my mind, especially all the giants and the fallen angels and their intervention here into our world, and how they are responsible for evil and the perpetuation of it. And so that was an interesting twist on, just the root of evil and how it's all propagated. And so I began to really study. First went into like New Age and shamanism, because all of that harmonic convergence was happening back in 1988 when I was 18, and this was when all the planets lined up on one side of the so-called sun in the solar system, and how they lied about all that and said it was supposed to bring in this whole New Age movement and whatever. And so we got into all that and did the shamanism and sweat lodges, and then decided to leave my 9 to 5.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I decided to leave the whole 9 to 5 and sold everything, and purchased a van, and decided to travel and really seek the divine and to experience it through nature, just like what these guys are doing here on the Clown World Tour, and so that was an incredible experience for me. And I did it by myself, and I was out there for 4 years, going from place to place. And I did acquire a disability during that time. I was spending my spring, summers, and falls traveling, and my winters in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, snowboarding. And then one summer we lost our brakes on a mountain road, and acquired my disability. I became paralyzed, and after that point I had a lot of time to really reconsider and review and try to recollect the pieces of what was my shattered self, So then I began to really look into and study and to read the Bible and the extra biblical texts and the ancient manuscripts for the first time. This was when the internet was becoming something, and that there was all this information being flooded onto the web that you had free access to and could begin to examine it. And so I started downloading and saving everything that I could find with the extra biblical text. And I noticed that a lot of it started to disappear. And because a lot of the people that follow my work, because then after that I started to do shows, and I started to bring out the concept of serpent seed, which was something that kept presenting itself to me. And especially when I discovered it in the Targum, which is the oldest translation of the Hebrew Torah into Aramaic, and was used by the Israelites themselves going back 400 BC, even before the Greek Septuagint. And it's very clear within that text that serpent seed, the seed of the woman, the seed of the serpent, that Cain was the progenitor, and that he was truly of the wicked one. And so, and then it says in chapter 5 that his genealogy is not genealogized in the lineage of Adam. And so, and I won't make it real long. I have hundreds of videos, thousands even, up that go into great depth with all of this. But I started looking into others and reading everything that I could find, and then we decided to make it available and to publish it for other people. And that's when we created circuitriderrepairs.com. My children and myself, we do radio broadcasts 3-4 times a week, and we published over 100 books now of ancient collections and compilations, and I am also the author of 35 books myself.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of material out there for people to go and consider, and check it out for yourself.
Yeah, that increase of information is really amazing.
Right.
And a lot of it has been there, it just buried. You just couldn't find it, and it seems like you probably found a lot of stuff earlier than most people.
I believe so, yeah.
It seems. I mean, you seem to be way ahead of me, but I noticed...
We're all on the same road, brother.
You talked about, is it Sacred Word Publishing?
Yeah, circuitriderrepairs.com.
And then your company. In your conference you had was Sacred Word
Revealed. The End Time Mysteries Revealed, yeah.
And you had Stephen Pidgeon?
Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, Rob Skiba, Dr. Joy Jeffries Pugh, Yana and Stephen Benoon were supposed to be part of it, but because of all the COVID stuff, they were unable to attend. And then we had several other guest speakers, and Diane Cover, the author of Yahweh's Unique Timepiece Explained, and others. There were a lot of really great speakers, and add-ons at the very end. We had additional people join us. So it was a successful conference, even at a time of, the whole coronavirus. Still 300 people came and attended.
Wow.
We didn't wear masks, and we didn't do all the protocols that they were calling for, and we were fine. There was no problem. Everybody went home and was blessed by our gathering. Gary Wayne, others. So it was a great conference.
It was actually Stephen Pidgeon who I first found just watching another YouTube video, and a guy was reading, I think, 4 Ezra maybe.
Yeah, I love that book. That's one of my favorites.
I decided to buy the Sefer.
Yes, I have that too.
And I started watching some of Stephen Pidgeon's videos on YouTube, and he said, look, here's this quote of this book of Yashar or something. This is the only place that Paul could have known about this, is he was studying these books, and he started showing me all those instances of quotes and references,
allusions, yes.
And
the apostles were very familiar with these ancient texts.
Yeah, you have to ask,
didn't have a Bible at that time.
What was scripture to them? Yeah, exactly. They didn't have a Bible. But the interesting story with you is I didn't know about you for a long time. I think I knew about Rob Skiba when I came into Flat Earth. He was the first one to show me Flat Earth in the scripture and biblical cosmology. And I think maybe I saw you on a video with him or something. But actually, that's interesting you mentioned the Targum, because I had a friend who was also a flat earther, and for some reason he had 2 copies of the Aramaic Targum that you sell, and it's got your name on it because you edited it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I didn't even know what it was. I just threw it on the bookshelf until later I actually saw the debate between you and Sean Griffin. And I was like, oh wow. And that was when I went to look. I'm like, I have that Targum, and I started reading it, and I was like, wow, this has a lot more information.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and that's when I just started to kind of realize who you were and the content that you put out there. I guess maybe just real quick, one really hard question for you.
Yeah, as much as you like, brother.
Is, to me, when I read it, I was like, okay, this is ancient, this is their view, this is what they thought, and maybe even this is closer to the original. That was my thinking.
It is.
But when someone starts talking about all these ancient books and the Kabbalah, and they start saying this is like the origins of Kabbalah, or this is how Kabbalah gets in, or something like that, what do you feel is the best response to that?
Well, the Targum has nothing to do with the Kabbalah or the Talmud or any of those rabbinical texts. If you look at even the word Targum, it means translation. And so it is a direct Aramaic translation of the ancient Hebrew Torah. And it's only the first 5 books, the Pentateuch, which the Israelites revered during the time of even, the Exodus and all, that was all being established. But when they were taken into diaspora by Nebuchadnezzar and the temple was destroyed, they were taken into Babylon, and it was there that they assimilated the Aramaic. Even the book of Daniel and Jeremiah are written in Aramaic. So we know it was during that time that they transitioned into writing their scriptures in the Aramaic. And we see that in the second book of Ezra, that God blesses Ezra with 4 other scribes, fast-writing scribes, and they translate the old manuscripts which were burned in the Holy Temple and had been lost. And this story is described in that manuscript, and it was in Aramaic that they brought them forth again for consideration. And so the Targum is one of those ancient manuscripts. And so this one predates even the Greek Septuagint by 200 years. And it's the closest that we have to the original source, because the Hebrew Torah was burnt in the temple. And so this is the Aramaic that Ezra brought forth of that translation. And now we have an English copy of that translation. And when you read it, as you said, there's great detail, much more detail, on almost every passage in every scripture. And serpent seed is just one of the things that it confirms as truth within it. I mean, there's so much information. I'll tell you, for example, and this can be the last thing if you like, but my son just released a book called The Word of the Lord, the hidden memra in a comparative analysis. And what he's talking about is he took all of the Targum passages which mention the word